Chapter 21. Jeff's Point of View. After taking Tara out of the hospital against my better judgment, I took her to my old house. She didn't say much. In fact, she passed out on the floor not long after we arrived. I moved her into my old bedroom, and then left the house. I know that when they can't find her, they'll send the police. And seeming as she might be seen as crazy, it's better to hide her there, considering no one, even escaped crazies from the hospital, likes to go there. Which feels somewhat like an insult, considering the beautiful work I did on my parents there. We have to move on from things like that, though. I ended up wandering the back alleys of some of the busier streets of downtown to see if I saw any police with dogs, because usually when policemen have dogs, it's to search for someone. And of course, I spotted one across the street, and it went crazy when it saw me. I hid behind one of the buildings, and since I was across the street, I hoped that the police officer would just keep going. The next time I peeked around the corner of the building, the officer and his dog were gone, which was good for me. I took my time to look around the alley and see if there was maybe a homeless person I wanted to slaughter while I was here. However, sadly there were only rats wandering around. I huffed out and kept wandering the alley, and naturally, my luck wasn't the best. When I was about to pass in front of one of those smaller alleys that led to the main street, I heard barking, which meant one of two things. Either the dog is at the other side of the opening with a cop, or it's already halfway down the alleyway. With either option, I didn't want to run into that cop, so I turned around and sprinted away from the opening. I could easily hear the dog barking from that space, and I knew that if I didn't get moving, I would end up as dog food, or at the very least, I would partially mauled by a hound. By the time I was able to look over my shoulder, I could see the dog and the cop chasing me, so I was going to be stuck in a chase scene from a crime movie unless I get that dog off my tail. And considering I haven't had a shower in a few months, maybe, it might be pretty hard. You could just kill the thing. It'd be a lot easier than running away for eternity, because, it's a dog. And I'm not stupid. If I stopped to kill the damn dog, the cop will shoot me. I don't want another fucking bullet wound. It's hard enough having my good arm in bad shape, dumbass. I muttered to myself as I ran around a corner, trying to avoid having to go into the main streets. Alright, they have guns. I almost forgot about that. But onto the whole street things. If you pull your hood up, you may be able to lose them. And considering you'd be around who knows how many people, the dog might lose your scent. It's just suggestion, though. Sounds like you're actually being smart for once. I muttered before grabbing my hood and pulling it over my head. I almost slipped as I ran into an alleyway that would lead into the main street. I slowed down as I entered the crowd of people, and quite a few people look at me, but I just pushed them because I'm assuming they haven't heard about my recent murder yet. Which, now that I think back to, I'm quite happy about. I killed, I think, 4 people because all they did was scream at each other. Oh, and I kidnapped someone. I'm having quite the streak lately. If you surpass your goal of killing, what was it? 30 people in 2 months? I suggest we go on a mass rampage, like an orphanage. Oh, how about a group home thing for future foster kids? Either one would be fun. I smiled to myself. That would actually be fun. I would love to see if I could surpass the number of people I killed when I first started. That would be amazing. That would make my day for sure. Plus, it'd cause absolute havoc among the public. If I could manage it, that is. I was feeling better than I have for a while, but of course some douche bumped into me, and naturally I was pissed. He just slammed into my shoulder that got shot. Who wouldn't be mad? Hey asshole, watch where you're going, he yelled at me. I rolled my eyes and continued to walk past the lumbering idiot. He grabbed my wrist and I felt what seemed like a fist punched me in the side of the face. "You gonna apologize, asshole, huh?" he asked me as I sat there rubbing my face. I moved my hand away, and sure enough, my hand was covered in blood from my beautiful mouth. I clutched my hand into a fist and stuck it into my pocket and grabbed my knife. If he hits me again, I will stab this man in the gut. "Leave me alone, drunkard," I said and began moving away from the idiot. I fell and grabbed me again, and before he could punch me, I grabbed my knife and slid it into his stomach. He gasped in pain, and I got up in his face and smiled as the fear shone in his eyes. "Think before you punch a guy in the face next time," I said, twisting the knife as I pulled it out of his gut. I quickly stuck it back in my pocket as he screamed in pain. I turned into the alleys again as people went rushing to the inside. I slipped behind one of those big green trash cans and pulled a piece of cardboard in the front and the side. I listened as people talked frantically. I could even hear the man yelp and whimper in pain from what I did to him. I heard a small bark from a dog, and knew one of the cops was over by the scene, which was going to make this a hassle. I would have to move before he calls his butts to start searching the area. So I sneaked from behind the trash can and ran down the alley. I ran back to my house where Tara was supposed to be. Hopefully I'll be able to get away from the area in time. I made it back to the house and was able to sneak into the place. I checked the first floor of any signs that she may have left the house. There was nothing, which meant she either was confused as hell as to where she was, or she hasn't woken up yet. Either one of the two is fine. I went upstairs and entered my old room. She was awake and was just sitting there playing with the hem of the awkward hospital gown. When I closed the door behind me, she looked up. She kind of looked like an asylum patient with the way her dark hair hung in front of her face. "Do you like her? Do you like her?" Oh, this is hilarious. A serial killer in love with a self-proclaimed detective. Oh, this is too good. I cringed as it laughed in my head, and watched as Tara moved her hair out of her face. She seemed embarrassed by the hospital gown she was wearing, even though she didn't really have that much of a body to begin with. I mean, she's like every other girl on the street, so whatever. "Jeff, you're staring at me," she said, looking at me. I turned around and opened the door and walked out of the room. I walked into Lou's room, which I think might still have some of his clothes. "You're getting her clothes? Aw, how adorable." "No, it's disgusting, Jeff. It's disgusting. Why don't you leave her to wear that? Make her feel like crap. Why don't you learn to shut up?" I asked it, not really minding my volume while I pulled the plastic sheet off Jeff's old dresser. I opened the first drawer and found a few shirts in there, probably still clean from when we first moved into the hellhole. I grabbed a random shirt and a random pair of sweatpants. I walked into my room where Tara was standing, watching the front door from the middle of the room. I threw the clothes in front of her and walked out of the room. I did not have any desire to watch her change. Keep telling yourself that, Jeffrey. You know you'd love to see that girl naked. I rolled my eyes and walked back into Lou's room. I closed the window mostly, seeing as how the window was still open in Tara's room. I was guessing they haven't been in there in a while, or at the very least trying to air out the smell of blood. After a little while, an endless staring out the window, I heard the door open from behind me. I looked over my shoulder at Tara, who was wearing some things that actually somewhat fit her. I mean, the pants were too big, but there's nothing I can do about that. She walked towards me and looked out the window and then back at me. It was weird because she was really overly silent. And it was weird because she was just looking at me. Kind of like the way she did when I laid on her couch a while back. "There was someone in the house earlier," she said to me, and I rolled my eyes and chuckled. Uh-huh, and I checked for anyone that could have gotten in downstairs. No one got in. Stop being paranoid, I said to her, and she grabbed at my wrist. Memories of that douche from earlier struck with anger, and I turned and glared at her. She gulped and held my arm tighter. Jeff, I heard someone coming from this room. I'm not paranoid, and if I remember properly, this window was open, wasn't it? She said to me, and I thought about it for a moment, and she pulled on my arm harshly. And I didn't hear them leave, Jeff. I pulled my arm away from her grasp and grabbed her by the nape of her neck and dragged her to the closet. I threw her in the closet and she stumbled inside. I looked back at the door she left open, then back at her. Don't you dare leave. I'll be back when I've killed whoever it is, I said, and I saw her eyes light up with fear even inside the dark closet. I closed the door and took out my knife. I slowly left the room and gently shut the door behind me. I checked the last room upstairs, which was a bathroom, and found nothing. So the little bitch is probably somewhere downstairs. Nice. I crept down the stairs and watched the door that led to my dead parents' bedroom, because that was the only room whoever it is could be in at this point, considering that the rest of the house is pretty open. I sneaked towards the door and made sure to not step in front of it. I listened for any noise that might signal that they were in here. As I was listening, I heard a scream from upstairs and unconsciously ran up the creaky stairs. I ran into the open door that used to be closed, saw Jane holding Tara by the hair. She looked at me and smiled cruelly. Why, hello, Jeffrey. Want to play a game? She asked, smiling devilishly at me. I clutched my hands in a fist and tightened my grip on my knife. This fucking bitch. Chapter 22. Jeff's point of view. I rushed into the room, throwing open the almost closed door. I gripped my knife in rage as my eyes settled upon Jane. She held what's-her-face in front of her to her neck. Sarah struggled desperately to not let the knife pierce her skin. Why, hello, Jeffrey. Want to play a game? She asked, smiling devilishly at me. She adjusted her grip on Tara, tightening her grip around her arm. Jane? I replied through my teeth. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't even completely sure why I'm mad at her. But then again, Jane's face is enough to make anyone angry. I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised to see you drag her here from the hospital. Not only is it risky, it's flat out stupid, she said, glancing down at Tara, then back at me, smiling. She must be quite special. I was very tempted to launch forward to slash open Jane's throat, but she would probably kill Tara, so that wouldn't be a good idea, especially if I want someone to torture when I'm in the mood for it. So I pushed my anger aside and chuckled, shaking my head. You think she's special? I said before bursting into crazed laughter. I buckled over, gripping my stomach. I tried to contain my laughter and calm myself, but laughing like this is sort of a buzz. Like that buzz you get when you haven't slept and you get your first cup of coffee. I slowly collected myself and wiped away a tear that escaped when I was laughing. I looked at Jane, her grip still tight around Tara's arm. Then why do you drag her around with you? She yelled, pressing the knife into Tara's neck. She squirmed underneath the pressure, fear quickly surfacing to her eyes. It was hard for me not to watch her struggle, and I gulped when a small trail of blood fell from the wound Jane was inflicting. At this most, I just wanted to grab her from Jane and make her bleed myself. I approve. You should definitely do that. In fact, please do. Drag her? If you call kidnapping dragging, I mean, it kind of is. But she kind of follows me on her own will most of the time, I said, my skin pulling on itself as my smile spread across my face. I glanced once again at Tara, to see her staring desperately at me with fear, probably hoping that I would save her from Jane's torture. Then why haven't you killed her yet? She yelled, moving the knife away from Tara's neck and pointing it at me. It was funny, really, how mad she got. She would get so upset when I draw out the torture of my victims. Maybe it was something to do with her parents, but it's not like I give a shit about her parents. Heck, I barely remember killing them. They were boring, predictable. If I hadn't known their daughter would be such a bitch and so obsessed with my good looks, I would have killed her. Now you're just being egotistic. Why? I said, smiling up and looking deeply. Because she's great entertainment, and her screams are the most beautiful sound. I am satisfied with myself, and I watched as Jane's grip on Tara loosened, and Tara looked to me to rescue me from the bitch. You sadist, Jane said, her voice filled with pure disgust. Her brows furrowed as she brought the knife back up to Tara's throat. We've been over this. Yes, I'm a monster. Yes, I enjoy hurting people. And yes, I enjoy hearing people screaming. That shouldn't be anything new, I said, rolling my eyes at her. Jane quickly looked off to the side, obviously cursing under her breath. She suddenly smirked and looked back up and at me. So, then it wouldn't matter if I slit her throat now, would it? Jane said, grabbing Tara's head and tilting it upwards. She gently raked the knife over Tara's neck. Tara trembled in fear, and I watched, very, very tempted to slit her throat myself. Oh, how amazing it would be to see her blood splatter and spray from her neck, the wonderful stain it would leave, and the lovely scent of iron that would permanently haunt the room afterwards. I'd rather you not. I still have to have someone to torture while on the road. No one can scream like she can. It's almost beautiful, I said, taking a careful step forward, all the while trying to avoid Tara's actions so I don't throw myself into a killing frenzy. And as much as I would love to go on one of those right now, I know I'd probably feel guilty about something. Grow a pair. I mean, killing frenzies are great, so why not go on one? I support it. Oh, how sad. I totally feel sympathetic towards the man who brutally murdered my parents, she said, wiping away a non-existent tear. I'm so touched by your love for this poor girl, or as close as love can get with you. She grabbed Tara's face and forced her to look at me. How do you feel, Tara? You love this man? Ooh, this is getting spicy. You think she'll love a man that tortures her? You have some twisted idea of romance, I said, rolling my eyes and taking another step forward. Honestly, if I could get close enough to Jane, I might be able to get Tara out of the way before I stab that bitch. But if she gets a cut or two in the process, that's no big deal. Nothing time won't heal. I'm not one to judge what someone's into, Jeff. You are into stabbing people, she said, letting go of Tara's head and pushing the knife against her neck. I gotta hand it to her. The bitch is good at her comebacks. Oh my god, shut the fuck up! I yelled at the voice, before realizing that I said that out loud and now I had them staring at me oddly. Enough, the bitch with the knife to her throat. I looked at them and glared at Jane, who laughed. Oh, Jeffy, can't take a little teasing. That's hilarious, she said, bursting into laughter, letting go of Tara. I smirked and lunged forward, pushed Tara aside as I plunged my knife into Jane's stomach. She immediately stopped laughing and gasped blood coming out of her mouth. I wasn't talking to you, bitch. She looked up at me angry, reflecting in her eyes. I smirked and quickly pulled the knife out of her stomach. She screamed out in pain, and I grabbed Tara's hand, pulling her to her feet. She didn't question me as we stormed out of the house, which was plenty helpful. Didn't have to hear the smart-ass comments about this shit. Hey, Jeffy. What? I muttered as I pulled my hood up and watched as she did the same as we entered a busy street. She clung tightly onto my arm, and I was kind of dragging her along, which was fucking annoying as anything this bitch does.
You want to screw her, don't you?
Oh, for fuck's sake!